Hi, I'm Demetria Hayes. I actually was in a 20-year abusive marriage, and it did start at 18. And you hear in your mind what your mother told you as a child, but you still kind of ignore it. My initial encounter with domestic violence was a choke. It happened all out the blue. And you replay it back in your head, like, where did this come from? What really happened? And I'm thinking, like, he just called me, asked me a question, and next thing I know, his hands are around my throat. And he choked me so hard where my breath had actually left out of my body, where I was just gone, and then he released. I thought, in your mind, you do play back these movies on how people feel. I'm like, some of these people have actually gone through these things in order to know exactly what you feel and how you react to these situations. But at the same time, he was like, oh, I didn't mean it. How do you not mean choking someone to enough to where they're actually unconscious? But I'm thinking, I just had a baby, 2 weeks. She was 2 weeks old. And I'm thinking, like, I don't want to be a single mother, Don't want to get caught up in having a baby's daddy. So I'm thinking, like, well, maybe he can change, I don't want to tell my mother, because this is what my whole family was basically saying. This wasn't a good guy. You don't need to be with him. And I just wanted to prove them wrong. And this went on year after year after year with some type of form of physical or mental abuse. And with me being a strong person I am, and God-fearing, I love God, God gonna work this out. So I'm praying, asking God to just, help him. But you don't realize that you need the help. By allowing this abuse, you need to go through some type of counseling or soul searching and just figuring out the reason why you're allowing this to happen. For me, unfortunately, it took a long time, but fortunately for me, I survived it. Yeah, 20 years. And I have 3 children, and they witnessed it as well. So you don't realize that they're going through as you're going through. 20 years later, it affected my 3 children in a sense that my daughter became abusive. She was like, no one's gonna abuse me. But she ended up getting into an abusive relationship with the guy too. So you don't realize how it affects the children by allowing all this stuff to happen. You're thinking you're keeping the family whole by staying in that kind of relationship, but you're not. You're doing more damage than you are good. And if they're coming from an abusive relationship, it's easier for them to become abusive also. So you really have to kind of home in on our own children and make sure that they're healthy and whole in the way they think and the way they communicate, and make sure that they have high self-esteem. Because a female can just come in and try to break that down too, and then they end up reacting as though they wouldn't normally. So we have to make sure that our own household is strong and whole mentally in order to send them out there to the wolves, so to speak, like a rat race. You keep going in cycles and a cycle, keep running around, and you're just stuck.
Okay.
But it comes to a point in time where you just gotta say enough is enough.
Right.
And I finally got to that point and said, you know what, my life is more than his. So what brought me to write Daffodil was at 18, and what actually kind of initially got out of the situation, when my daughter turned 18, he choked her. It took 5 people to get him off of her neck. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm gonna be held accountable if something happens to my children. So I got out of the situation and tried to work my way through it. I ended up going into a depression and had to get counseling and just get out, because once you think, oh yeah, I'm out, but no, it's an emotional ride that you're in trying to heal from that. And I couldn't help my children until I was healed from that. So those that mental abuse, they all end up going through it as well.
Right.
And that's what I really want to tell people. It's not just about you. Especially when you have children involved.
Right.
We need to think about them as well.
Right.
What are we teaching them, showing them, So by writing this book, it helped me in my daughter's relationship, man and grow closer. So once I became whole, my daughter still wasn't. So her relationship and I suffered. But when she was younger, she wrote letters to me expressing how she felt. And that's kind of how we communicated, through letters. So I ended up finding her letter when she was 18, first year in college, titled A Mother-Daughter Relationship. And she just wrote out how she basically felt our relationship was. And I was like, wow, it was deep and it was heavy. I needed to find a way to connect with her. So I wrote the diary entries of things that I had gone through while I was married. And it was pretty deep because I didn't realize I was going to get so deep. Because you don't want your kids to know exactly, even though they're in it, they don't see it all. It's going to be okay. I was emotionally abused also. I had cut my hair one time and thought it was really cute, cut it really short. And his way of belittling me said, you bald-headed. But at that time, I'm thinking like, I just cut my hair. So he had to go to something else. That didn't get it. So verbal abuse is prevalent just as well, because when it's not physical, it's emotional. And they'll do whatever they can to just gain control over you. So they'll keep on figuring out what little things that they can do to just break you down. And it doesn't happen right away. It's like little nuggets that they keep on. So before you know it, your self-esteem is down. But after I wrote the book, I let her read it, and we had a discussion. It was good for us. It was good for the relationship. And then the whole process of writing it, she became an intricate part in it, where she ended up designing the cover of it. She has letters in here basically on how she felt. And so it became like a healing tool for us. So it starts off with her letter and it ends with her letter. And it goes into a daffodil plan of forgiveness and a new beginning. But it's a process, and if we don't wake up and fix ourselves, figure out what's holding us back, what's keeping us, we're going to continue going through that cycle. Thank you for listening. Thank you.